Today, as every day, I stand in honor of our police and our law enforcement. I often say to those who serve that to serve is an act of love. And I recognize the love that those who step up to put their lives on the line, to put their lives in the place of danger to protect us. So I honor that service and that love. But today, like last night, I heard an outrageous lie about which party supports law enforcement. So let's look at the facts. The Republican president, Mr. Donald Trump's proposed budget will slash funding for the ATF and Drug Enforcement Administration, fire FBI employees, wipe out community policing grants, and gut civil rights enforcement. Trump's budget doesn't support local law enforcement, it hurts them. In my rural district, local law enforcement actually needs more support, and I am outraged when Republicans say federal help is just duplicative, which is what they said last night in rules. I have spoken with the police officers, the sheriffs who traverse thousands of miles of bumpy rural roads in my district. Weireba County, for example, is bigger than the state of Connecticut, yet it has fewer than 24 police officers. You know what helps a small rural police department like Rio Riva? You know what the sheriffs need? They need support from the FBI and federal law enforcement. FBI comes in and helps them solve crimes. Tribal law enforcement also relies on the FBI. Tribal leaders frequently describe the long wait times for police to arrive and the countless criminal investigations left unsolved because there aren't enough FBI agents. So when you cut funding for the FBI, as the Republican President Trump proposes in his budget, you're not cutting duplicative funding. You're cutting essential investigative services. It's a guarantee that crimes will go unsolved. The partnership between law enforcement agencies at all levels is critical to keep our communities safe, from the sheriff in Rio Riva to the Capitol police officers right outside these doors. Each plays an important role. But unfortunately, not everybody respects all of our law enforcement officers. In this very building, January 6th, insurrectionists brutally attacked the Capitol Police and law enforcement officers from multiple jurisdictions. More than 140 police suffered injuries and went to the hospital. 5 officers died. Then, President Trump pardoned the violent thugs who battered those police officers. Shame. Every day, we walk by our dedicated Capitol Police, yet very few Republicans have the courage to condemn the pardons of the violent thugs who beat the police. Last night at Rules, we couldn't even get a Republican who's a former prosecutor to condemn the pardons. More shame. If Republicans truly backed the blue, they would all denounce those pardons. Mr. Speaker, I wonder, has my colleague from Texas condemned those pardons? Is he willing to do so now? But Mr. Speaker, I need to tell you that I want to turn to what Americans are focused on right now, what the thousands of callers to congressional offices, Republican and Democrat, are worried about. Republican cuts to Medicaid. This is a big week for Republicans. It's there, and I quote what was reported in Punch Bowl, once in a lifetime opportunity to cut Medicaid. This week, Republican committees, in the dead of night while America was sleeping, took a sledgehammer to life-saving programs like Medicaid. Here, let me tell you what's happening, Mr. Speaker. Democrats fought all night to save 8.6 million Americans from losing access to Medicaid. And that doesn't include the 4.2 million Americans who will start paying a whole lot more for their health care premiums so big corporations can get their tax deductions. Republicans voted down every single amendment that Democrats offered to protect Medicaid. And let me remind everybody, in more than 25 districts, more than a third of the constituents rely on Medicaid. That includes Republican districts like Nick Begich's, Robert Bresnahan's. Yet not a single Republican had the courage to stand up for their constituents. The people are showing up in our offices to demand that Republicans listen to them. Some are protesting in their wheelchairs. Yesterday, I spoke to a disabled woman named Julie outside the committee markup. 35 years ago, Julie crawled up the House steps to demand that Congress pass the Americans with Disabilities Act. Now, she's back to beg for the bare minimum. She told me that she doesn't trust Republicans to protect her health care. Based on their votes, she's right. 35 years ago, Congress listened to her plea. Now, the wealthy interests and Trump's pressure are just too much. Republicans won't listen to a word, Julie, or the 80 disabled advocates who came here to ask them. Protect Medicaid, protect the services I need. Even though I'm in this wheelchair, I am not voiceless, and I will show up with my power. If that doesn't break your heart, I don't know what will. But we do have a broken system that prioritizes the wealthy, the corruption, and loyalty to President Trump over the health and well-being of people like Julie. 8.6 million people will suffer because Republicans took their once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to cut Medicaid. Republicans may be gleeful, but Americans will be tearful. And remember, congressional Republicans will lie over and over and say, this isn't about rooting out fraud. No, it's not. It's about giving permanent tax cuts to the oligarchs. In fact, the top 20% of income earners will get 68% of the benefits in their bill. Make no mistake, people will die as a result of these cuts. Families will suffer. Many will grow broke thanks to medical bills, while millionaires get money for more yachts. Do they really need any more yachts? Getting back to law enforcement. You know what the other thing that sheriffs in my district need to respond to crime and to keep people alive? Rural hospitals. When Republicans stripped $715 billion from Medicaid, no matter how they try to paint that pig, they'll be eliminating rural hospitals and emergency rooms. When they do that, police officers in rural areas in places like Chama, New Mexico, in my district, will have to drive 1.5 to 2 hours to the nearest emergency room. Ask any first responder. The quicker you get somebody to an emergency room, the more likely they are to survive. When life or death is a matter of minutes, what Republicans are doing this week is deadly. I reserve.